Welcome to CLOC Talk. My name is Amy Thompson, and I am the Director of Content and Curriculum for CLOC. We are here at CGI, and I have with me Jonathan and Jane. Jonathan, do you want to give us some of your background? What do you do? Those kind of things. What do you do with CLOC as well?
My name is Jonathan Jones. I'm the Director of Legal Operations at Cribble, and I am part of the Education Advisory Council here for CLOC. Glad to be here at another CGI.
And I'm Jane Platt, and actually this is my first CGI.
Yay!
I've been a paralegal for at least 25 years, and it took me a long time to realize that I was doing legal operations the whole time. And so I've worked for mostly biotechs for the last 20 years plus. And then I just left my last biotech company, and I thought, you know what? I see a need. I want to go and find these people who need help with legal ops, who can't afford an EY or a Google or whatever.
Yeah, and we met in San Jose for CLOC Academy, and that was my very first time doing any CLOC Academy, and we just clicked. And then Jonathan, I've been with you on the EAC, so this has been fantastic to see you guys here and see you in human form.
Right.
So this is day 2, and yesterday we had lots of content that we covered, and now I'm looking at how this can not only just be for CGI, but what we can do going forward. So if you could tell me a little bit about what you attended or what you taught, and how you can see any connection that we can use in the future with all this content that we're gaining here at CGI.
I presented at the technology session yesterday, 200 level. And one of the things that I thought was so interesting is you start with 100 and it's a super high level, right? It's 4 hours, 12 areas. It's quick. It's a drive-by. And then you do level 200, which is 2 hours on one of those, which is still feels not completely drive-by, but you can touch a lot of stuff, but you're still just touching.
Right.
Because you don't have time. And so I love the idea that first you do the whole wheel, and then you pick a piece of the wheel and for 2 hours. And then the next step is, which I know you've talked about, going to another level, and then you dig deeper. And then if we can build communities where people can talk, I'm in biotech. Biotech has its own kind of problems. You're in software. That's got its own kind of problems, right? Different kinds of challenges. So that's what I think is, and I love the way that the curriculum is opening up, because so everybody gets an introduction to everything.
Right.
Yeah, so I attended the Knowledge Management 200 course yesterday, which was also very enlightening and great for folks that are new in that space or maybe run into some roadblocks on how to develop and curate their content. As far as the direction of the content, I remember when it was all kind of foundational, and we've slowly been building that up into more advanced courses. And so I think just continuing down that is super helpful, because the needs get more nuanced as you go along or you're further in your career. This environment is only growing, and so we need to be able to reach a lot of people and a lot of their needs. If they've kind of hit the 100s or 200s and they don't have much more to go from there, that'll kind of be a block for us, I think, at some point.
Yeah, I was in the knowledge management too, and that was really good. So for me, that was a level of, because I really don't know very much about that, and that was a level of, here are a lot more points to hook onto that then you can research or you can dig deeper. But that's still really what it is, right? You get some nuggets, and then you're like, okay, well, there's a whole bunch of stuff I didn't know very much about that I need to go learn more about.
Right. And then we're looking at, if there's the 300 level that'll be coming up, then we're looking at even more in-depth content. And looking at the different sessions that we have AI sessions, we have the Compass tool that's coming out soon. We have so many different looks and takes on things that I'm excited about. What we get these sessions, and we have the recordings, we have this. So what do we do next with this? Like, what do you see us taking away from this? When we have people that come here to CGI, they are networking, they're talking, they're attending these sessions, they're learning. But then when they go back, what can they do to continue their education? So there's different opportunities that CLOC offers, where we have the community section for our members. But what about what we have, the content that we have here? There's so much. So what do we do next? What would you see as the ideal future of the content that you gain from CGI?
Well, I think it could be in just explaining how people can apply it to their roadmaps. So for instance, we're doing a +1 day with my team here because if we don't do anything in our company, we do a lot of planning. And so we're preparing to start planning for the next year. And so our team gets a chance to debrief and talk about what are some things that we learned here? What are some tools and vendors that we saw here? How can we incorporate that into our roadmap? And so I think giving people examples of how they can start applying it is helpful. To your point about some of the sessions, getting some highlights and things that they could take back, just taking that and then implementing that into their subsequent roadmaps.
Oh,
I think is
absolutely.
helpful.
Sometimes you need terms to search, right? Because we've all had that experience, right? You're trying to search something and it's not coming up. And then you stumble across something and realize, oh, I wasn't using the right word, that the search engine was going to go find what I was looking for. And I think that is one of the things that this does, is it gives us, okay, I've learned some terms of this trade, so to speak, this area of expertise now, and some topics. Now I can go a little deeper, and there are going to be podcasts, and there are going to be a lot of things like that. For me personally, I think that the best learning happens when people give and take together, right? Which is what you're doing with your team when you go back, right? And you can't do it with huge groups. So you can't really do it at a CGI, right? Which has to be what it's now is great, right? And I think it's doing what it needs to do, but that would be another step of like workshopping-ish sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Where people can talk through, and that's the fun part, right? Where you sit in there and with your team, I'm sure you see that, and you see the light come on, and somebody's like, oh, I have an idea. That's the cool stuff.
This episode is sponsored by Discernis. When your team lands 500,000 documents in 6 languages, keyword search won't cut it. Discernis is AI native document intelligence that reads the full record, maps every key entity, builds linked chronologies, and answers questions with citations back to the exact passage. Built for e-discovery scale, deployable on-prem when privilege demands it. To learn more, visit discernis.ai.
And looking at the different examples, there have been key takeaways from each one of the sessions so far. Strategic planning and how that works, and how you can use AI to formulate that, but you still need that human component as well. So the examples that have come out of here, and debriefing with your team, making a plan going forward. What are you going to do with this? So, you learn strategic planning, you learn from the knowledge management, but then what do you do? So then you can work with your team, develop a plan, and that would be a great example of a takeaway as a team. If you're by yourself and you're coming here, there's definitely a debrief, and it's not a school report or anything like that. It's more of a conversational piece. And they were talking in the training and development in CLOC 100 about how you would train other people in doing lunch and learns. I think this would be fantastic for anybody, regardless of what level you are in legal ops, to when you go back to your organization and saying, hey, you know what? Let's do a lunch and learn on something that I learned that I want to teach you all. Because there's definitely good practices that you can gain from this. So why not share the wealth?
So for the smaller companies, which, that's been my career, is working for smaller companies. And I feel like that's a completely unmet need. I mean, CLOC is the first thing out there to do that, to help with that. I think the idea of, because you don't have a team to debrief with, you may go back and, if you're a paralegal like me, you go back and talk to GC or whatever, but CLOC can be that team, right?
Yeah.
So you can put these people, because you have a team together, but you could put teams together of people who are maybe similar industry, similar stage, looking at a similar thing like document management or CLM or vendor management. And now you've got a team that you can debrief with each other. And that could be virtual, right? Like once a month, let's just get together and everybody take a turn. What are you working on? What are you struggling with? Because that's probably what you get to do in your team. That's the advantage of a team.
That's right. It is. We're a remote company, and so we're used to connecting virtually. And it's when you make connections here, it's not that difficult for me to do that virtually. And that's kind of how I started out. When I started, I was a team of 1, and now I have 3 other people on my team. And so we've been able to build out the functions. But some of what I looked at the start was, hey, there's a lot of components to this. we'll touch on all of these as we scale the function, but we won't be able to do them all at the highest of levels, right?
Sure.
So we have to scale and grow into this. And so how do we take this information, put it into bite sizes, make it apply? And so some of that was just internal to the team. Some of that was larger scale to the company. To your point about lunch and learns, that's been super helpful.
There's some great takeaways from what we've learned, what we're going to be learning tomorrow and Thursday. So there's so much to offer that, just taking those notes and just being that guidance for your team is really a great leadership opportunity.
Great to have the slides, and you go back and can make notes on your slides and, oh yeah, this really stuck with me, and share that with people. No, because that's what you get, right? You get a framework of a whole bunch of information that you can go back and apply and flesh out and customize for what it is you need.
There's no shortage of resources here. I mean, you're going to get handouts. You're going to get good content. You network and you meet other people. Sometimes you get to work with your team if you have one, and then they're here. And for me, this is one of the few times that I'll see them throughout the year. And so there's just no shortage of content here to be able to take back and start applying.
Great.
This is the CLOC Talk podcast from CGI. Thank you.